Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming my stretch routine, and this is something that I've mentioned in past videos a few times. And the reason why I'm so, I guess you could say, passionate about my stretch routine is because this is something that I did almost every day during the quarantine when we were really locked down in our houses. I would throw on some relaxing music, put my phone down, and just stretch for 20-30 minutes a day, and it helped me feel really grounded. And I danced for 18 years of my life, so I've always been sort of more on the flexible side, but this year I've definitely become the most flexible I've ever been. And I think that it's because I'm not just stretching for flexibility or to warm up or cool down from a workout. I'm stretching more for like a meditative experience. And without sounding too much like a hippie, we carry a lot of emotion and tension in our bodies, and stretching is a great way to release some of that, and it just makes you feel so good. I always feel better after stretching. It helps you feel more limber and loose. It helps with body aches and pain. And when you're stretching and you're just focusing on being present and focusing on your breathing, it's this mind and body connection that is just super relaxing and calming. And I think that that's something that we could all use a little bit of this year. So I really wanted to share with you guys. I'm gonna be filming this kind of like a workout video where I film it in real time so you guys can follow along. And yeah, without further ado, here is my stretch routine. So I always start in a standing position, and I just reach my arms up to the sky while taking a big deep breath, and then I just stretch to either side, really focusing on my breathing. Then I stretch back, stretch as far as you can, and then fold over and exhale and face your knees. Next, I'm going to stretch down into a runner's lunge to start to get my legs stretched out. Just hold that and then push back. Straighten both legs. I like to grab my back leg just to really pull my torso to stretch out that hamstring. If you can't do that, just stretch and hold as far as you can. Then I bend that back leg to really stretch out that front hamstring, and then up on the back toe. This is just to get my legs nice and activated for my more intense stretching. Then back to the runner's lunge. Then I like to drop down on that back knee and grab my foot with my opposite arm and really stretch that towards my body. This is great for stretching out your quads. Just pull to whatever feels comfortable for you. And that back leg back down, back on that toe. Just really stretching out those legs. And then I like to face my leg that is bent and stretch up to the sky. This is great for stretching your torso out and your core. Then I'm going to rotate my body towards the front to start stretching out my groin. And I just hold it on either side and then switch, bend the other leg and straighten the opposite leg just to get my groin nice and warmed up. And then I repeat those stretches on the other leg. So same thing, that first runner's lunge, and then stretch back, straighten both legs and face that front foot. Then I'm going to grab my back leg with my arm just to really pull my torso towards that back leg and stretch those hamstrings. And I'm going to bend the back leg just to really stretch that front hamstring out. And then I'm going to straighten my back leg and get up on that toe. This part of my stretch routine is a bit more quick and flowy. When I get to the more intense stretching, I like to hold the positions a little bit longer. But this is really just to get my body nice and warmed up for those deeper stretches. So I stretch down into my runner's lunge again. And then I'm going to drop that back knee, curl the toe under. Then I'm going to grab my foot and pull that towards my body, really feel that stretch in my quad. And just hold that. Then back into the runner's lunge. Stretch up, face that knee, stretch that arm up to the sky. And then back down. And then same thing, I'm going to rotate my body to stretch towards the front, stretching out that groin. And switch. Then I'm going to get back into that runner's lunge. And then I'm going to curl under my front leg into pigeon's pose. Really try and make sure that that front leg is parallel with your body. And then you can stretch down if you like. This is really great for stretching out your glutes. Then I'm going to come back up and I'm going to switch. I'm going to straighten the front leg and I'm going to bend the back leg. So this really stretches out that front hamstring. Same thing, you can bend down to your toe to get a deeper stretch. And really focus on your breathing and hold this position. You can also flex your front toe and pull it for a further stretch in that hamstring. And then I'm going to stretch into my right split. And if you don't quite have your split yet, you can either keep working on those two stretches that I just showed you, or you can prop yourself up on your hands and go for the split, but don't overstretch yourself so that you hurt yourself. You want to just ease into it. But if you do have a split, you can stretch backwards, you can stretch forward. I like to flex that front foot just to really get a nice stretch in my hamstring. But I like to focus on my breathing here and just really hold it. I think the best way to improve your flexibility, aside from just consistency, is really holding each position. And something that I learned in yoga is that every time you exhale, try to get further into that stretch. Focusing on your breath really helps when you're stretching. Then I'm going to swing around that back leg and do the same thing on the opposite leg, starting with pigeon. Again, trying to keep that front leg parallel to your body. You can stretch downward. Really feel that stretch in your glute. Then coming up, I'm going to straighten my front leg and bend the back leg. And stretch down, really feel the stretch in that hamstring. You can flex that front foot for a further stretch. Then I'm going to get into my left split. Again, if you're not quite there yet, just really keep focusing on stretching out that front hamstring. So the duration in which I hold each position kind of varies each day. It depends on how tight I am or if I'm sore. But I find that the best way to gain your flexibility is to really hold each position. Again, focusing on your breathing is super important. Then I'm going to swing that back leg around, straighten my legs, and then stretch up and over, grabbing my feet and pulling my head down towards my knees. Same thing, grabbing those toes and flexing your front feet to get a further stretch in those hamstrings. Next, I'm going to sit up and do some butterfly. Really get that groin nice and stretched out. I like to push on each knee and face the opposite way. This is great for stretching one side at a time and really stretching that inner thigh before we go into a straddle. And then you can push down both knees to really stretch out that butterfly and get the most out of this stretch. before straightening your legs and pushing up as far as you can into that straddle. Then I'm going to stretch to one side, grab that foot. This is really good at stretching out your obliques and the side of your core while you're also stretching out your straddle. Then face your leg, head to the knee. Then I'm going to come up and do the same thing to the other side. Stretch to that foot. Then turn and face your leg, head to your knee. Then I'm going to come up and I'm going to stretch straight down the middle. Stretch as far as you can. This is definitely my favorite stretch by far. This is the one that I like to hold the longest because we tend to have a lot of emotion in our hips. I know it sounds funny, but when you stretch out your straddle and really breathe into it and push your stretch, you'll find that it just really releases a lot of emotion. And then if you can pull yourself up and over onto your straddle so that your legs are as flat as possible. Again, if you're not quite there yet, just keep stretching downward. Each time you exhale, try to get a little bit further into that stretch. Sometimes I'll hold this stretch for an entire song. I just think it feels so good to focus on your breathing and really open up those hips. And sometimes I like to put my arms out to the side just to really get my body as flat as possible onto the ground to get the deepest stretch that I can. Then I use my hands to push myself up nice and gently because after holding that stretch for a while, your legs can be a little bit sore. So I kind of just ease myself back. And then I'm going to put one leg over top of the other and stretch down. This is great for stretching out your glutes. If your butt is ever sore from working out, this is a really good deep stretch for those glutes and outer thigh. Then I'm going to come up, switch my legs, and do the same thing on the other side. Then I'm going to push back up, and I'm going to straighten one leg, bend the other, and take my opposite arm and push against that leg to stretch my lower back. Then I'm going to switch and do the same thing on the other side. And then to really stretch my lower back and my glutes, I like to lay on the ground, take my leg and stretch it over and face the opposite way. This is again one of those positions that I like to hold for quite a while because it just feels so good. Then I'm going to switch and do the same thing, facing the other way, grabbing the other leg. And then while I'm laying on the floor, I like to take a moment to stretch out all of my limbs and just do a nice big stretch, take a deep breath before I roll over onto my stomach, push up on my arms, and stretch my lower back. Then I'm gonna rock back into child's pose. This is another one of my favorites. This really stretches out my shoulders and opens up my upper body. This is another one that I like to hold. Then I'm going to come up and I'm going to stretch my arms. So just pulling one arm across your body and pulling it with the opposite arm. And then switching, same thing on the other side. Then I'm going to stretch each arm up and over my head, grab that elbow, really stretch out your tricep. And then switch, same thing on the other side. Then I'm going to grab my hands behind my body, straighten my arms, and really open up that chest. And I just like to roll my shoulders a little bit. I'll do a few rolls backward and a few to the front. And then the last thing I like to do is just roll out my neck, really do some last big deep breaths. And switch, roll to the other side. And then that's it. That's my whole stretch routine complete.